Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
It is wild to think that just over a year ago, Sean Diddy Combs was literally on top of the world. He was receiving the key to New York City. The ultimate symbol of success. And today, that same man is at the dead center of a massive federal indictment for racketeering and sex trafficking. His entire empire, his whole legacy is just hanging by a thread.
So how do you get from that ceremony in Times Square to a federal courtroom? Well, to really get it, you have to look at the two completely different worlds of Sean Combs. There's the public empire that he spent decades building so carefully. And then there's the alleged criminal enterprise that prosecutors say was running right underneath it all.
All right, so here's what we're going to break down. We're going to start with that public facade, the one he kept up for decades. Then we'll peel back the layers and get into the federal charges, the really disturbing details of the alleged crimes, the people accused of helping him, how it all came crashing down, and, what this all means for his legacy.
Okay, let's start with the guy everyone thought they knew, right? For decades, Sean Combs wasn't just some rapper or producer. No, he was this self-made mogul, a huge symbol of black excellence and business savvy who pretty much seemed to turn everything he touched into gold.
It all kicks off with Bad Boy Records back in '93. From there, he built this incredible empire that went from music to fashion to liquor. The Sean John clothing line was a phenomenon, and that deal with Ciroc Vodka, it became one of the biggest celebrity liquor deals in history. At his peak, we're talking about him pulling in somewhere between $60 and $100 million a year. He was an absolute force in American culture. No question.
Okay, but while all this was happening out in the open, this glittering empire being built, federal prosecutors alleged something way darker was going on behind closed doors. And they argue that this legitimate-looking business was actually the perfect cover for a criminal enterprise. And that brings us right to the heart of the federal case, racketeering. It's a word we usually hear in mob movies, right? But it has a very specific legal meaning here. So what are prosecutors actually alleging?
And here's what makes this charge so incredibly serious. Prosecutors aren't just trying to nail Diddy for individual crimes. No, they're arguing that his entire business operation, what they're calling the Combs enterprise, was used systematically for years to commit and hide a whole pattern of criminal activity. So the very things that made him successful were allegedly also the tools of his crimes.
Now, a central and frankly deeply disturbing part of the prosecution's case centers on these events Diddy allegedly called freak-offs. And according to witnesses, these were not just random parties. Oh no, they were meticulously planned down to the last detail.
According to testimony, this was a repeatable, systematic playbook designed for total control. The level of detail in the allegations is just wild. Right down to staff being told to warm up bottles of Johnson's baby oil by putting them in hotel sinks filled with hot water.
And this alleged control was just all-encompassing. Witnesses testify that it wasn't just about big life decisions like someone's career. It went down to the absolute smallest, most personal details of a victim's appearance, like their hair or even what color their nail polish had to be.
Okay, so for a racketeering charge to actually stick, prosecutors have to prove that it was an enterprise, not just one guy acting all by himself. And the indictment names a whole network of employees, arguing that they were absolutely essential to making this alleged criminal operation run.
So this table basically lays out the prosecution's entire argument. You've got these people with totally normal job titles, right? Chief of staff, personal assistant. But their alleged real job? Well, that was to be essential cogs in a criminal machine. Their everyday tasks like booking hotels or handling travel were allegedly twisted to enable and cover up these crimes.
For decades, Sean Combs' public image was basically bulletproof. But when it started to unravel, it happened with shocking speed. Let's just walk through the timeline that led us to this federal indictment.
It really all kicked off with Cassie's Ventura's lawsuit in November 2023. Even though it was settled in like a day, it opened the floodgates. More lawsuits started pouring in, and that got the attention of federal investigators, which led to those dramatic raids on his homes and, well, here we are with the indictment.
And one of the most damning pieces of evidence prosecutors are pointing to, this number, $100,000 in cash, allegedly paid to hotel security to get their hands on surveillance footage of him assaulting Cassie Ventura back in 2016. The exact same footage that would eventually leak to the entire world.
So as this whole case barrels toward a trial, the clash between what Diddy has been saying publicly and the evidence against him is just stark. And you can see it perfectly in his own shifting statements.
And this is just such a jarring contradiction, right? It's at the heart of his defense. Back in December 2023, it was a total blanket denial of everything. I did not do any of the awful things. But then, in May 2024, after CNN dropped that 2016 hotel video, he posts an apology, calling his actions inexcusable. That dramatic shift is for sure going to be a huge focus at trial.
Ultimately, this case really forces us to ask some much bigger questions. Why this all matters isn't just because it's some celebrity scandal. It's a massive test of accountability. It's a look into the really dark side of power and fame, and it makes you wonder if the systems that protect and enable the powerful can ever really truly be taken apart.